I'm just going to start the recording. So we have a recording of this for anyone who wasn't able to attend today.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the main page for Brainfuse that we're looking at on the screen. This is what your students will see when they access Brainfuse. So basically the point of the webinar today is just to go over the entire service to show you what exactly is offered here. If you have any questions as I'm going through anything, you can feel free to ask anytime. Just shout them out. I'll try to ask for questions as well, but you can feel free to interrupt anytime if you have questions. Okay, so usually the way your students will get to this page is through the link that you'll post most often within whatever learning management system you use. So the students will access the link through that. Once they click on it, they'll get to this page that we're looking at here. So that's how your students will access our service. And then once they get here, we try to make it as self-explanatory as possible. But basically we have all these different buttons here, and each one of these is a different part of our service. This is all customizable, so essentially what we're looking at today is all of the options. If any of these buttons are totally irrelevant, they can be removed. If you'd prefer them to be removed, you just have to let us know. We can do that quickly for you. So there's basically 3 tabs here. That's where all the different services are. So the Expert Help is the default with these buttons here. And we have the Study tab and the Collaborate tab. Does anyone have any questions about anything before we start going through the actual service options here?
No, so far so good.
Okay, great. So I'll just start going through the buttons here to show you how everything works. The first one here is our Live Help option. This is essentially our foundational service. So when you think of online tutoring, you think of connecting with an actual live tutor and asking any questions you have. So this is the main place where students will go to get live tutoring help. So you just click on this button here. I'll go through the topics that are available. So we have 5 different topics here. So you can choose business. And then we have accounting, econ, and finance available. If you choose computer and tech, we have Excel, PowerPoint, Windows, and Word. Within English, we have reading and writing. Within math, we have a number of math subjects, sort of all the standard higher level math subjects. And then within science, we have anatomy, biology, chemistry, and physics. So those are the subject options. You just choose the one you'd like, click on the Get Live Help button, and that will connect you with a live tutor in our online classroom. You can also click right here if you'd like to get a Spanish-speaking tutor. I'm going to show you a live session at the very end today. But first, I'm going to go through all the rest of the services that are offered. So the live session will be the last thing we look at.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Is micro included in the biology?
Microbiology? I don't believe so. I believe that's separate. That's not. I would have to double check, but I don't think that's a standard biology subject. But I would have to double check.
Okay.
If I go back to the home page, that was the Live Help option. So right next to that we have Skill Surfer. Essentially here we have a library of lessons that students can view on their own.
Before you get to that one, quick question on the Live Help.
Sure.
How often and when is that available?
It's based on the hours set in the contract.
Okay.
I don't know it offhand. I don't want to give you the wrong hours.
So it's basically whatever we contract for.
Yeah, it will have said that in the contract. And I believe it'll also say it down here at the bottom of the page when your students actually log in,
Okay.
when they're using the site that's created for West Virginia. It'll say the hours down here.
Okay, thank you.
Are
Sure.
students limited to the number of hours they can use?
Not by us. If you want to put a cap on the hours each student can use, we can do that. But from our end, there's no cap on student usage. So they can.
Mary, you know what we contracted for?
No, that Leslie would have to let us know that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. So I'll go back into the Skill Surfer option here. So like I said, this basically allows you to browse our library of lessons for certain topics. So these are the topics that we have available. For example, if you choose one of these topics, I'll click on college algebra. Within that, we have a number of subtopics and then all of our lessons here. So for example, within linear equations and inequalities, there's 34 different lessons here you can click on to view, and then you can just look at these lessons on your own. So if there's a topic you're looking to work on, you can log in with one of our live tutors to get help on it, or you can come here and look at a lesson on your own. We have regular text lessons, and then we also have video lessons available. If we go back to the home page, the writing lab is the next option here. So this basically allows students to send in pieces of writing they're working on to have them reviewed by our tutors. So a student sends in a paper, it goes out to our tutors, one of them will work on it and send it back to the student within a max turnaround time of 1 business day. So from when the student submits it to when they get it back, it'll be a maximum time of 1 business day, but a lot of the time we respond much more quickly than that. It just depends on whether a tutor is available right when the student sends it in or not. When I click on the Writing Lab button here, this is how I actually send in a document. So you just click on the Browse button in number 1 to attach a file. Pretty much any standard document type is fine. Then you can type out anything you'd like in the comments box, so any notes you'd like to make to the tutor. And then you click on the Submit button when you're ready to send it in. So you then get this message right here, which directs you to the Message Center. So up here at the top of the page, we have the Message Center. This is where you'll go to retrieve our response. This is also where the document you submit will be saved. So right down here at the bottom is the one that we just sent in. And up here is another submission from this student. And then the one in the blue box right below it is what the tutor sends back. So this was just a demo account, so the tutor didn't actually edit anything here. But if they did, there'd be comments here, as well as a document you could click on and open up to see most of the tutor's comments. So that document that we send back will look something like this paper right here. So we always send it back with a rubric, a writing rubric on the top. So that has some overview sections that we've created and the tutor fills in comments for. Things like overview comments, grammar, and a few others. And then if you scroll further down, the rubric section ends, and then you'll have the actual student's paper. And we also embed comments here within the paper itself. So this is what it looks like when we send back an edited or reviewed paper. The tutors focus on providing comments and suggestions on how the student can improve the paper. So we're not making all the changes for the student. We're not fixing all the grammar errors. We're trying to point out the errors and point out the places where the student can improve the writing. So the student will have to go back and make the changes on their own. If we go back to the home page, that was the Writing Lab. Right next to the Writing Lab, we have the 24/7 Center. This button works exactly the same way as the Writing Lab, except the 24/7 Center is to send in questions rather than papers. So you send in a question here, we'll send back a response within 1 business day. But especially for the questions sent in here, we almost always respond much more quickly than 1 business day. So here in the 24/7 Center, you have the same subject options to choose from that we saw before. So you just choose one of those subjects, type out your question. You can attach a document if you have one. That's optional. And then click on Submit. So that sends the question to us. Our response comes back in your Message Center. And again, we're never going to essentially give out an answer to a question sent in here. So we'll either send some resources the student can use, we'll get them started if it's a multi-step problem, or most often if a student sends in a math problem, we'll work through a similar type of problem to show the student how that type of question is done, and then they can go back and work on their specific question. Any questions about anything so far?
So far, so good.
Okay, great. So I'll move down the page here. The next option is the Language Lab. So this is basically here for anyone who's learning to speak Spanish. Spanish is the only language we currently offer. So you'll see in the drop-down menu, Spanish is the only option you have. Choose that, click on Connect with Tutor, and that will connect you with a live tutor who can help you with learning Spanish. We also had the Spanish checkbox option in the Live Help button here. So you can choose a subject and then click on this checkbox. So this is more for a native Spanish speaker or someone who wants to get, Algebra 2 help in Spanish. Whereas the Language Lab button here, that's for someone who's learning Spanish. So they're looking for help specifically with learning Spanish.
Restate that again. If I have an ESL student that needs something explained in Spanish, I missed it. Can this do that?
For an ESL student, they would probably go to the Language Lab. But either way, they'd be connecting with a tutor who would know Spanish and English, so they would be able to help them. We don't actually have a section specifically designed for ESL, but if they just wanted to go to the Language Lab, they could connect here with someone who'd be fluent in English and Spanish, and they'd be able to help them. The next.
Is Brainfuse going to be adding any modules such as ESL? Because I know that in our area is becoming a huge, huge issue.
Yeah, we're working on adding a lot of different topics. I'm not sure specifically about ESL. I mean, if that's something you're really interested in, just let us know. Send us an email, and we can see what we can do. But it's not something we have available right now.
Okay.
The next button here is the Adult Learning Center. Again, this might be something that's not relevant for your students, but it is available here. So I'll click on this. On the right-hand side here of the Adult Learning Center, under where it says Lifelong Learning, we basically have some academic tutoring options here. You'll have these same options back on the main page that we were just looking at. We've already looked at some of them, like live tutoring, writing lab, 24/7 help. These are the same services here. They're just geared towards adult learners. So this service here is used more for our library programs, where they might have adult learners coming into the library and looking for help with things. That's sort of what this is designed for. So those are the live tutoring options here on the right. On the left, we have some additional options for adult learners. So we have some resources here for anyone who's working on taking the GED test. So we have study materials, live tutors available for the GED, and then also practice tests available to prepare for the GED.
Are they working on updating for the GED, the new one that's coming on board in January?
Yes, we'll update the tests, definitely.
You did say yes, didn't you, Jamie?
Yeah, sorry, we'll definitely update the tests. So that was the GED option. Right below that, we have prepare for the U.S. citizenship test. So we have the same options here as for the GED. So study materials, live tutors, and then practice tests on the right. Then we have a resume option for anyone who is working on a resume. So here we have some online resources for resumes, some links to other websites you can use to help you write a better resume. In the middle, we have the Upload Resume button. So this works just like the Writing Lab, where you can send in a piece of writing for review. Here you can do the exact same thing with your resume. And then on the right side, you can connect to a live tutor in our online classroom who can help you with your resume. The next option here is Microsoft Office Help. So here we offer help with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, up to the most recent versions of those programs. Here on the left, we have resources, and then on the right, you can connect to a live tutor and ask any questions you have about these programs. And then the last option here is career resources. So this is essentially a list of websites that we've compiled that you can use to find available jobs to apply to. So we have this page broken down into general job sites for students and recent graduates, and then job sites for veterans down at the bottom. And this area can be customized. If you have specific links you'd like us to add for your area, we can add those here. So that was the Adult Learning Center button. Does anyone have any questions about anything here?
Nope.
Okay.
No, we're good.
We'll go back to the home page here. So that was the Adult Learning Center. If we move down the page here, the next button is LEAP. So we call this the College Skills Program. Essentially, LEAP assigns you a diagnostic test in a particular subject area. You take the diagnostic, and then based on the questions you answer incorrectly, we assign a lesson plan of our lessons, video lessons, and these little mini quizzes, we call them, 2 or 3 question quizzes. So you look through a lesson and or a video on a topic, then you take a little mini quiz just to help you learn that topic, and it's all based on the diagnostic test that you took. We only have this available for certain subjects. So when you click on LEAP, it takes me to this page because I've already taken a LEAP quiz in here, but when you access this for the first time, it'll actually take you to this tab, which will ask you to select the diagnostic. So here you can choose either English and then reading, or math and college algebra and pre-algebra. So these are the only topics we currently have available. So you choose one of these, click on Start, that will assign you the test, and then once you've taken the test, you'll have your learning plan page. It looks like this. This chart up here will fill in as you work through each of the different lessons and sections that were assigned, and those sections are listed down here. So you have things like this lesson, you have a video lesson here, and you have a mini quiz that you can take on that subject. So you just work through all these different options down here based on the questions you answered incorrectly on the diagnostic quiz. So that was the LEAP option. Right next to that, we have Tutor Match. So this essentially allows you to schedule, pre-schedule a session with a tutor. This is mostly used for if you have your own tutors that you'd like to use our system to schedule with. Our tutors are always available for certain hours, so you can log in and get a tutor. You can pre-schedule sessions with our tutors as well, but this can also be used with your own tutors. So you essentially just choose one of the topics available here. So you choose math, pre-calculus, and then click on schedule. So you have to choose the preferred modality for the session. So for our tutors, we only have online. That's the only one you can get with our tutors. But if you want to offer phone or on-campus sessions with your own tutors, you can use this scheduling option as well. So then you just put in a date and time and find the tutor who's available, and that will pre-schedule a session with that tutor. Again, that's not always used. That's one of the more rarely used options here, but it is available in case you'd like to use our scheduling system with your tutors. Any questions about anything we've gone over so far?
You skipped over one option that I don't see on your screen that we have on our printouts, and that's office hours.
Office hours. It's actually not one that I've seen, but I assume that's probably for your professors, your teachers,
Yes.
where they can set up office hours and be available to
Virtual
help
office
students.
hours.
I'm sorry?
Yes, and it says here on the descriptor that we have on our handout allows faculty, college instructors to schedule virtual office hours with students.
Yeah, so that essentially lets a teacher or faculty member schedule a block of time when they'll be available, and then their students can just log in during that time period and connect with that faculty member and either ask questions, go over a lesson, something like that. So it would work just like one of our live tutoring sessions with one of our tutors.
Is that going to be a part of our package, or do you know?
I'm actually not sure. I can double check. Is that something that you'd be interested in using?
Oh, I would love that.
Okay, let me make a quick note of that.
Yeah, get them to ask questions.
Okay. Any other questions about anything we've gone over so far?
We're okay.
You're good.
Okay. I'll move on to the Study tab here. The first option here within Study is Flashbulb. So this is essentially an online flashcard service, but it gives you a lot of options with flashcards online that you don't have with hard copies of the cards. So I'll click on the button here. Most of the time, students will use this Create Now button here on the left, so that will let them enter their own flashcards, so vocab words and definitions, or whatever it is that they're looking to memorize. We also have all these different topics listed over here. So you can click on these topics to access sets of flashcards that have already been created. They're mostly just created by other students, though, so they may not be accurate, and of course they probably won't cover the exact words you're looking to work on, but you can access these sets of cards. So I'm going to click on English vocabulary down here just to show you what a set of cards looks like. Each one of these here is a set of cards that somebody's created. Only the ones that have this stamp icon next to them have actually been created by us or vetted for accuracy, and as you can see, most of them have not. These are just student-created lists of cards. So I'll click on one of them here. Basically, each set of flashcards will look like this one. So you can click on each of the different icons here to do something different with those cards once you've entered them. For example, the first button here just shows me the flashcards. You can click on the card to see the definition. You can put it into the correct pile or into the incorrect pile if you didn't know that one. And then you can retry those that you didn't know. But there's a lot of other options here as well. For example, you can click on some of the game options, like the crossword puzzle. The system will create a crossword puzzle here using the definitions that you entered over here as the clues. You can take a quiz or a test. You can print the cards out if you'd like hard copies of them. So there's a lot of things you can do here with the flashcards once you have entered them, all designed to make memorizing a little bit easier for students. If we go back into the study tab, so that was the flashbulb option. The next one here is the GRE. So for anyone who's preparing to take the GRE test, we have some resources available here. So we have live help available here on the left-hand side. So you just choose one of the sections of the test and then click on Connect to get a live tutor. We also have practice tests available for the GRE, and then we also have resources here you can click on and access as well. So this is the resources page. If we go back to the study tab, you'll see we also have some other tests available here. So that was GRE. We also have AccuPlacer and Compass. So we have the exact same options available for AccuPlacer and Compass as we did for GRE. So there's practice tests, resources, and live tutors for these tests as well. The resources button right here, this is something that will be blank unless it's customized by you. So we've had requests to include some links. So from different clients who want to include either a link back to their homepage, to the school's homepage, or to some other resources that they offer to their students. So you can send us any links like that, and we can add that here in the resources section. And then the last button here in the study tab is the test center. This is basically a practice test area. You just click on the test center, and you can choose from the available topics here and then take practice tests in these subjects. And the nice thing about our practice tests is that once you've taken one of them, you can log in with one of our live tutors, and our live tutors are able to access your test results. So if you want to go over the questions you answered incorrectly on a test, you can log into a live session and get a tutor who can help you with that. They can see your test results and help you with those questions you answered incorrectly. Okay, those were the options in the study tab here. Does anyone have any questions about any of those?
Nope.
Okay. I'll move on to the Collaborate tab here. There's just two options here within Collaborate. The first one is Meet. So this essentially allows you to schedule an online meeting with whoever you'd like to invite to the session. So it uses our online classroom, just like when you connect with one of our tutors, except in a Meet session here, you're not connecting with our tutors. You're only connecting with the people that you invite to the session. So students can use this to give some extra help. Students can use this to have a study group with each other, or a teacher or professor could use this to give some extra help to students outside of the classroom. So this could sort of work like the office hours. It just would be, the way you set it up would be different. So the Meet button right here, when you click on it, to actually schedule a Meet session, you have to enter the email addresses here of everybody you want to invite to the session. So for the Meet sessions here, you have to be invited specifically by entering the email address here. So you enter the email addresses of everybody you'd like to invite, put in the date and time, description of the meeting, and then click on Send. So that will email a link to those people whose email addresses you entered, they can click on that link to join the session. As far as the options you have and what that online classroom looks like, again, it looks just like the one used when you connect with one of our tutors, and we'll look at that at the end today, so in just a few minutes, actually. So if we go back to the Collaborate tab, that was the Meet option. Right next to that, we have Brainwave. So this button here says Create and Share Movie-like Notes and Ideas. So essentially, Brainwave, it records a little video of whatever you're putting on our whiteboard. So you're given a whiteboard, you can type out or draw or paste whatever you'd like to on that board, and then the system records a little video of that. So a good example of what you might use it for is to show how to solve a multi-step math problem, or show how to balance a chemistry equation, something like that. So when you click on Brainwave, these are 4 different brainwaves that have been created within this account. So you can click on the play option to play these. But then the nice thing about it is once you have one of these created, you can actually send it to somebody else. So a student could send these to fellow students, or again, even a teacher or professor could send these to their students. Again, they're sent by email, so you just click on the envelope over here, enter the email addresses of the people you'd like to send it to, and that will send them a link they can click on to view that little video recording. If you want to create a new brainwave, just click on the button here. This window tells you a little bit more about the tool, and then you click on Begin Recording down at the bottom when you're ready. We call this the Brainwave Notepad. It looks just like our online classroom, so you'll have these same buttons available when we connect for the live session in a few minutes. So I'll go over these in a little more detail in the live session. But here in Brainwave, I could, for example, use the graph option right here to click and drag a graph onto the board. I can use the Shapes tool right here to put a line onto the graph. And then I could, for example, show how to find the slope of that line, or whatever the problem is that I'm trying to solve. So you can go through all the steps here. The system's recording this as we go. And then when you're done, click on Stop Recording, type in a name for that brainwave, and then click on Save. So that would save that right here with these other brainwaves, and then you could send that to somebody else if you wanted to. And you can always click on the My Brainwaves option right here to access your brainwaves page. The Brainwave Library tab here essentially lets you search by keyword for brainwaves that other people have created. So just like those flashcards you can search through, you can do the same thing here with brainwaves. You just have to search by keyword. But again, most of those are just created by students, so they may not be accurate, and there's no guarantee there'd be a brainwave created on a topic that you're working on. It just lets you search through the ones that other people have created. For the Meet session here that we just looked at a minute ago, I forgot to mention the My Calendar option here at the top of the page. So once you schedule one of those Meet sessions, you have the My Calendar option here, so that's where that'll be saved. So you'll go here to start that session when it's time for it to begin. Okay, so those are the options here in Collaborate. Are there any questions about either of those?
The brainwaves, that's just visual only, there's no audio?
Yes, it's visual only.
Okay.
The only time you can use audio in our sessions is in a Meet session. So when you're connected with our tutors, there's also no audio. I'll show you that in the live session. But you can use audio in a Meet session. So with the people you invite to one of these sessions, assuming everybody's connected and has audio capabilities, you can speak to each other in a Meet session.
Do we have the time to see a couple of examples of the students' brainwaves?
Sure. So if you just want to see sort of how they play when you play a brainwave?
Show me a math, show me in English, just let me see what they look like.
So, I don't know, type in algebra. See, the way it searches is just by the name that the student gave to the brainwave. So most of these would probably be on specific topics. So I know I always create them on slope. So if you search for slope, there should be a lot of them here. Okay, so actually Here are a few. When you type in algebra, there's a good number of them here. So I don't know what any of these are going to show. Again, they're student created, but if you click on the play button to play one of them, it'll just play back whatever that student created. So this is what opens up the Brainwave player. So essentially how effective the session is, will depend on the student and what they put on the board. So this is how it replays. I can click on, type in English. So this one doesn't look like they actually created anything there. So does that give you an idea of how they work?
Yeah, that would sound good. I'd like to see one in English if there is one.
Okay, so this is another feature I'll show you later. This is actually a tutoring session. You can see here there's a tutor and a student. So there's a way you can do that as well. So once you have a live tutoring session, your live tutoring sessions are recorded and saved, and then those can be converted into Brainwave files so that you can send them to other people. So this right here was a live tutoring session that was converted into a Brainwave.
And students have the option to do that.
Yes, they have the option to do that. So usually I'll show this later, but you have the Past Sessions button right here. So this is where your live tutoring sessions are recorded and saved. And then next to each one, you have this little orange icon, which lets you convert it to a Brainwave. So that converts it to a Brainwave file, and then it would show up in a Brainwave search. But the reason you would do that is because with Brainwave, you can send those files to somebody else. So if you convert this to a Brainwave, it would then show up on your Brainwaves page, and you could then click on the envelope icon to send that to somebody. So you could have somebody else watch a recording of your live tutoring session.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions on anything we've gone over so far?
So far, so good.
Okay. So I think we'll go ahead and connect for the live session now. So if we go back to the home page here, we saw a couple different areas where you can connect with our live tutors, but the first one we looked at was the live help option right here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on that button, and then you enter a subject, and then a subtopic here, so I'll choose English, and then writing, and then click on the Get Live Help button. So this is our online classroom here that's opening up. So this will connect me with a tutor. You'll always see the same online classroom here, no matter what subject you choose. So you'll always have the same options here. And these are also the options you'll have in a Meet session. So I mentioned that before, but when you connect in a Meet session with the people you invite, so whether it's your friends, fellow students, whoever it is, you'll have these same options here. But of course in Meet, you can have multiple people, so you can have more than the 2 people listed here, and you can use audio in those sessions. But in the regular tutoring session here with our tutors, you have the tutor's name listed over here, also right here. So for today, this is just me logged in as a tutor. So I set this up so that we would just connect with my tutor account. But normally the tutor here would begin the session by greeting the student and figuring out what the student needs help with. So the tutor sees the subject that I chose, which in this case would just be writing, but they don't know anything other than that. So if I want to type something back to the tutor, just click down here at the bottom, and we can type back and forth whatever we'd like to say. So that's where most of the back and forth communication takes place, in this instant messaging chat box down here. Up at the top of the page, we have the whiteboard space. So this area can be used for a lot of different things. If a student wants help on a topic, so how to multiply fractions, the tutor can load our lesson on multiplying fractions into this space and then work through that. with the student. If the student has a paper they're working on, they can copy and paste part of the paper here and then work through that with the tutor. If the student just has a math problem or something like that they'd like to get help with, they can paste that onto the whiteboard here or type it out onto the whiteboard. And you would do something like that using all these buttons here along the left-hand side. So I'll quickly go through these. If you put your mouse over it, you'll get a brief description of what that button does. So pencil just lets you draw on the board. The eraser will let you erase. The ABC tool will let you click anywhere on the board and then type. The font button will just let you change the font style and size. The color wheel lets you change the color of the next thing you put on the board. And this is all interactive here. So whatever you're putting on the whiteboard, oops, I misspelled that. But whatever you're putting on the whiteboard here is visible to the tutor and vice versa. So as you're essentially working on the same whiteboard here. So if I write something on the board, the tutor can then underline it, or circle it, something like that. So you're working on the same board. This button here lets you paste text or image right onto the whiteboard. So if I open up that paper we looked at earlier, say I just copy part of this right here, Control C, I go back into the online classroom here, I just put the cursor wherever I'd like to. You can also change the font color. So I'll change this back to black, and then I put the cursor here and click on this paste button, and that will paste that right onto the whiteboard. So you can paste part of a paper you're working on or anything that can be copied and pasted. So it could be a math problem with images from an online source. That could be pasted here as well. This button lets you underline. So I'll change the color here. Well, it lets you draw straight lines. So you can use it to underline, to draw figures, anything like that. The graph option we saw briefly before, you can actually choose the number line or the graph. So you can choose a number line and click and drag that onto the board. Or if you choose the graph option, you can click and drag that onto the whiteboard. And you can double click on the icons here, and that will let you change the X and Y values. Then we have a basic shapes tool. So you can use that to put shapes on the board. These are just some of the options here. The arrow just removes the most recent thing you put on the board. So if you click on that, you can essentially move backwards, removing the most recent items you put on the board. Math button gives you a long list of math symbols. SCI does the same thing for science symbols. And we have a superscript and a subscript button. And down at the bottom, you can clear the whole whiteboard. Up at the top here, you can print out the whiteboard. So if you went over a question that was particularly helpful, you can print it out here. But of course, you don't have to do that because you also have the past sessions button that we looked at just a few minutes ago. So your sessions are automatically recorded, like a little video, and then saved here. So you can also log back in and view those sessions later. And then another option you have is this envelope icon. So here you can enter your email address or somebody else's email address, and that will send a link to whatever address you entered that can be used to view a recording of this tutoring session. So usually this button is used right before you log out. The session's finished. You can click on this and either enter your own email address or somebody else's, and that will send a link they can use to view that tutoring session. So you can also do that by converting the file to a brainwave later within your past sessions, but this is just a quicker way to do that within the live session. This button right here lets you upload a document directly to your tutor. So you can send them a paper you're working on or whatever the file you'd like to send to the tutor is, and then you and the tutor will both have a copy of that file and you can look at it together. And then the last option here is Cloud Pack Explorer. It's actually one option we didn't go over back on the website. So you have the My Cloud Pack option right here. So this is essentially a storage device. So when you open My Cloud Pack for the first time, these subfolders won't be here. These are ones that I added. So you can add whatever folders you'd like, and then you can upload documents into those folders. You can upload various papers, class notes, or whatever documents you'd like to upload there. So in one way, it just works as a storage device, but the nice thing about it is that when you're in the live session, you can access those documents here in your Cloud Pack, and you can upload them onto the whiteboard. So you have a number of different options for sharing information with your tutor. You can use the Cloud Pack option. You can use the send file to send them a document, or of course you can just copy and paste onto the whiteboard. So it depends on what you're looking to do with the tutor. So anything on the whiteboard, either CloudPack or the copy and paste option, you can't edit and change the way you can in a Word document. So that's why we also have the send file option here. So that's essentially how the live sessions work. Are there any questions about the online classroom here?
Nope.
We understand.
Okay. That's pretty much all the options here that I wanted to go over. So those are the options your students will have. One thing I'd just like to show in the webinars as well is this essentially some ways to increase student usage. So, it depends on the client. Sometimes students, they know about the service and they start using it right away. Other times it takes a little while. But essentially, if students know there's a free tutoring service available, it's going to get some use. So these are just some ways you can inform students about the service. So we have flyers we can send if we haven't already that you can put in high visibility areas. Any way you can get a notification about the link and availability of the service to your students would be great. So either through emails, through social media, through a school newspaper, anything like that is helpful. These are basically all just different ways to get word out to your students. Some may be relevant, some might not, but I always just like to show this to give you some ideas for how to promote the service. And we can also schedule additional webinars like this one anytime. So if you ever want to have additional webinars for other faculty or for anyone, for your tutors, if you have your own tutors who might be recommending this to students, we can schedule those webinars anytime. So does anyone have any final questions about anything we went over today?
I don't think so, but to expand on the webinars, Jamie, I know we have 2 already scheduled, one in July and one in August, but there will be additional ones, if that's okay, and that will include the tutors who will be returning about the 19th of August.
Okay.
So there might be 3 in 1 week. Is that rational?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as I don't have other webinars already scheduled at the times you like to do them, that's fine. You can have as many as you like.
Okay.
I have a question. I don't know if it's for Blue Ridge or Brainfuse. If there's any way to streamline logins, or is this another separate one for students? And is there any way to integrate this with our website?
Sorry.
Not going to an external link. Are they able to just click a tutoring tab and automatically just log into Brainfuse from our website? And then.
So, sorry, I couldn't quite hear the beginning of the question, but I think it has to do with sort of how the students access the service. So it's integrated with your learning management system is usually how we set it up. So that the student will have to be logged into Blackboard or whatever system it is that you use, and then they'll click on our link and get transferred over to us. So they won't have to sign in or anything again. Their login info is transferred. Is that what the question was about?
Yes.
Yes, and the person who will be putting it on our website will be attending the July 10th one. So Brett will probably have a lot of questions for you. She's very good, and once she views this, I'm sure it's going to be easier for the rest of us.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not a technical person, so if she does have a lot of questions, we can always set up a call with our tech department specifically, and they probably be able to better answer some of the technical questions.
Okay,
so
that's good to know.
Yeah, we can do that if that's needed.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think that's it. We appreciate you giving us this webinar today, and I'm sure some people will repeat it because there's a lot to absorb at one time. And they have the little user guides that are helpful, but it's helpful to have additional notes too. But, but thank you for offering this today.
Yeah, no problem. And again, we can, if you want to have many more of these as well, we can schedule them. Also recorded it, so we can send you the link. You can post that wherever you'd like. If you'd like to make it available to students, even, they could watch a recording of one of these trainings as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks a lot for attending, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.